a lot, Lucky's a lot.
There's a lot, Lucky's a lot, I'm reeking of beer. Well, I'm not fussed, no, I've had a good night. The cheap drinks, the good friends, the bright lights. I've been out here living my nightlife. The whole time you haven't crossed my mind. And my friends said you weren't the right type. And you've made it pretty clear that right. Tomorrow's headspins be alright. Cause I'm starting a new chapter. I've had enough, yeah, been enough. Yeah, I've had enough, yeah, been enough. Yeah, I've had you, I've had enough. Yeah, been enough. Yeah, I've had enough. Yeah, been enough. Yeah.
Welcome back to Field 2 here at the European Ultimate Championships 2019. My name is Hannah Pendlebury. I'm joined today in the booth by Joanna Hamer as we bring you some of the closing action here from the women's division. The 5v6 matchup between France and Germany. Joanna, these two teams have battled so hard to get here. What have their paths been?
They really have, and in the women's division, up and down, we've had a lot of results and games that we might not have expected. So Germany, coming into this tournament, one of the favorites, such a strong squad with lots of great players on it. France as well, known to be very strong. I don't know if anyone predicted this is the 5-6 match, but we're very happy it's on. Yesterday, Germany were knocked out of the first place bracket by Italy on Universe. A shock upset, a very good game. The Italians coming from behind to win in the end. France beating Finland to make it into this match. Another surprise upset. The Finnish team, very good, knocked out of the bracket again yesterday by the Swiss, who are now in the final. And that France-Finland match was a bit of an exciting one as well. The France were up 7-0, and the Finns came back to take it to Universe, only for France to take it away from them at the last minute. So both of these teams have played already earlier today to set themselves up for this match. They'll be excited, they'll both be fired up, and they'll both want to win.
They certainly will, Joanna. Well, France, as you said, didn't really have the greatest start to the tournament, and certainly were not expected to win that pre-quarter matchup against Great Britain. But it is an absolute delight to see them here, finally finding a bit more form. And we'll see if their zone look can be effective here on Field 2, which, as you can hear from our microphones, is blustery and gusty. The wind is currently coming pretty much face on to us here in the booth, but a slight trailing from the right-hand side of the field to left, so towards the end zone that France will be defending to start out this match. Germany women, though, they're going to come out hungry.
Absolutely. In that game that we saw, Germany versus Italy, several of these players having absolute standout games. Caroline Tisson doing such a good job. We saw Anna Goerner. She was wearing a red hat in that game, really taking it away. And as always, Kyoko Hosokawa going to work for her team. Such an effective cutter and expansive thrower. And on the French side, we've talked about a lot of names. Aline Mondiot, the handler, very effective. We have definitely called out the name of Daniela Rodriguez many times. She can take up as much space as she wants on the pitch, but also a couple of other cutters to watch out for. Pauline Berthet, Adelaide Cambrai, both squads having very deep, good lines.
And so Toussaint, the captain for the German side, will get us underway from the brick mark as we see the pool landing out of bounds. Nice little frisson of rubber crumb coming out from underneath the disc. Watch out for that. Just make some very nice photographs as players slide around the surface here on Field 2. And talked about very briefly that French zone, and that's what they come out of immediately in this match. You've got Hosokawa, Toussaint, Goerner at the back. Oh, and just, oh my goodness. Composure there from Goerner to keep her hands around that disc. I thought that one had been tipped into the turf, but talked about her iconic red hat from pre-quarters, or quarterfinals even. Missing that today, perhaps worried about the wind catching the front of it and tipping it into the left side of the field. Good pressure from the French And the disc unable to be reeled in by Tisson. Watch that wind, it will push the discs down as throwers try to make passes from the right-hand side to the left. We saw the Germans warming up before the match, trying to do a huck drill. And for the quality of the players in that drill, the throws didn't look the tastiest. Just shows how lethal the wind is. So, French, first opportunity for a break. Bruni, up line, finds Dumont, sorry. She's looking for a reset, finds it in a nice turn. Oh, and a hand block. That's great work from Simona Libiet. Tisson stretches a nice backhand, but she's gonna overthrow the woman with the block. Libiet there unable to catch up as the wind pummels us here on the field.
Definitely, that throw we've seen, this is my third game in a row watching on this pitch, and we've seen so many of those throws down that sideline just get carried too far for cutters. The most effective throws that we've seen throw from there, there's essentially no power behind them at all. You flick the wrist and put the disc up into the air and let the wind take it from there. So the French D line now, second chance, and just a complete drop from 26, Alice Samako. Germans now on the goal line. Need to move around the back. Manhart, oh, and that is a beautiful release. High flick. And for a score for Germany, first point on the board. German hold there for that first point. Very crucial to get that first hold on the board, particularly as it is going with the wind. When we see the breaks come in that upwind direction, it's incredibly effective. It essentially is a break and a half, because your defense then gets to go down with the wind and pressure the next offensive possession to have to go into the wind. So Germany will be very happy. 2 turns apiece in that point, but them converting it and filling it up on the scoreboard, 1-0.
So a bit of a messy hold there for the German O-line, as you say, going downwind here on field 2. Just come from the stadium field. I went to go snag my laptop from the main pitch here. Obviously 2 streams. We're lucky to have double coverage here at this tournament, bringing you plenty of action as we see Jakobsen, the missing player from this Germans. Well, one of the missing players. They have a bit of a super squad, the Germans, and plenty of fans at home, as something very bizarre happens on the field. I think that's Schuck. Just a bit of a violation. But they're playing some football here.
Definitely apologizes for that immediately.
And a short field for France, but snaffles the disc. That's a great play from Rika Wagner. And now Germany looking a little bit stifled, going against this wind. Kusik, the American from Oregon. Nice backhand. Obviously those backhands much easier to execute against the wind than the flick. Just a bit of a safer release, but that one goes awry for Germany.
We know the German side, you mentioned they're quite deep. They have quite a wide squad. They typically have an O-line with about 9 or 10 players that they rotate in, and then 2 different D-lines.
A risky shot goes up from the hand of Mondiaux for her favorite target, Daniela Rodriguez. If you're not familiar with the French women's scene, and certainly this French women's side, expect to see that happen rather a lot in high stall situations for France, but a nice idea for Germany, poorly executed, underthrown and taken away by Charlotte Danier.
We've seen a lot, the defense that's trying to stop that upwind possession. We've seen them sitting underneath their players a lot, which is such a smart move, because the upwind throws will sit a lot shorter than expected, and you might actually get some deep defense with your under positioning.
And so a zone from Germany. And a big forehand down that far sideline from Mondiaux. Doesn't go quite to plan. Early stages of this game indicating that we might have a scrappy old battle between these two sides. Nice give-go movement. I think that's Mareike Sash working that far side. Oh my goodness, that's not a great execution, but the garbage collected by Zach. Great play, composure from the Germans, and they take that first score upwind for a break, leading 2-0.
Bit of a pirouette there on that gorgeous catch in the end zone. The German throws upwind. It's really hard to get them off. They're not picture perfect throws, but they get where they need to get. If you have two players underneath it, twice as likely to get a hand on that disc. We see them battle against the wind to keep throwing these little dishes upfield, and then this one goes definitely intended to head out a little bit further. Great defense from France, but the toe tuck while the grab for Sach gets that in the end zone, and we see the German celebrations that we have seen from them so far this tournament. A very excited squad, a very happy squad, a squad that cheers together. We've been talking a little bit about the origin of some of those cheers. Hannah definitely has greater insight into them than I do, but we definitely see lots of fun from that German squad.
Well, it helps, Joanna, that I have a couple of women on the inside with the German team. I was introduced to the actual scorer of that point, the lovely Mareike Zach, by my good friend Jennifer, I think Friedwald, I think that's how you pronounce her surname. Hi to you, Jenny, if you're watching this stream back at home in Germany. Those two players having met when Friedwald played for the mixed side Sugar Mix, who appeared at the World Championship last year in Ohio. So France now haven't put a point on the board yet, but still very early stages as we see Kulias on the disc there, the woman who scored that final grindy point against Great Britain in their quarter-final match, pre-quarter matchup, sorry. Getting myself confused here. So much spicy action here. Oh, and that's a great run-through block. Number 26, Alissa Marco, coming big for the Blues.
Absolutely massive run-through block there. Knew that she had the speed to get the positioning, moved in without causing contact.
And so, Yvonne, yeah, I think they're over there on the far sideline. Last time I called a game for France, we're a bit spooked by the auto-translation of Facebook. Oh my goodness, can they recapitalize? Kulias goes to the floor, but no, it's gonna get nothing but a turf burn for her efforts. Spanut, round to Nayes. Fakes the backhand, Weiss Schultz. She fights to keep control of the disc in this wind. Oh, and that's an absolutely beautiful execution for a score, 31. That's Inga Spanut reeling that one in for the salad.
Very exciting point there from both teams. I think we're going to see a lot of that in this wind. A lot of bobbles, a lot of near catches, a lot of drops, a lot of second effort plays. It makes it very exciting from the stands. It's definitely not the offense that France wanted to show there, but Germany, a little bit of luck, a lot of execution and skill on that to get their second break in a row to go up 3-0 early in this game.
And we see there one of the coaches of the German side, that is their defensive coordinator, Max. I will have to pull up a different sheet for my rosters to find out his surname. I've been getting in lovely chats to, there we go, Liebesberger there, Maximilian Liebesberger and Marco Müller, the two coaches of this German women's side. Each of them taking a separate line. Of course, Marco, the offensive coordinator here, to steal the NFL terms. But those two have been having a really, really great time. They've decided as a team, Joe, that even though, of course, they'd be bitterly disappointed not to have made the top 4 or the top 8 here, no, sorry, the top 4 at this tournament, they're not allowed to be disappointed until 7 o'clock this evening. That's their time. They decided they're going to be upset about not having made it to quite the depth in this tournament that everyone had expected early stages. But that's a beautiful backhand, gonna sit and hang. Plenty of bodies in front of us, plenty of you, but that's a good reception on the doorstep now of taking another upwind point in this game. Oh, a bit of a low one there. Again, Wilkening with the catch. coming out of Haschliger Erdferkel, and a little stomp in from the number 10. The American Meryl Kusik gets the score. Germany take a 4-0 lead.
Storm the pitch with their signature salad celebration. The whole team getting up and getting excited about that. That was some really nice movement up pitch. As you mentioned, a few of those throws a bit low, but their teammates completely ready to catch them. Lots of quick movement in the handler space, getting this disc free. It's an upwind point again. They're not at all afraid of this wind. I think Germany really demonstrating that they did have the power to be in contention for the final. Knocked out in that universe point by Italy. A very, very tight match. Again, any team really could have taken it into that bracket play in the women's division. Germany demonstrating their class here, going up for a 4-0 early lead. It won't make up for the fact that they're not in the final, but they'll definitely feel very proud of themselves for putting up this fight.
And of course, it's all about learning lessons ahead of Worlds next year. We spoke very briefly about the fact that Germany not only have a very deep squad here at this tournament, I think they're only missing one from their roster registered here due to injury. We've already seen her waltz past us here in the commentary booth, giving us lots of smiles and waves in her floppy sun hat. That's Ellen Jacobsen, the Dane, who was present at the European Beach Ultimate Championships earlier this season, but 2 short months ago. Although with all the excitement here, starting to make those memories fade a wee bit. Although today I am donning, Joe, I don't know if you've noticed, the full look. I'm a full kit. I've even gone for the hat, because I'm wearing the tank top and little shorts from that tournament. A great stash there. Lucky to have Lucky Gross as the kit supplier here for the European Championships.
Definitely, and you've got the short shorts that are really premiering, I would say, at this tournament. For the first time, many teams going full short shorts. We've got one of the players on the German team here, number 7, Schulze. She describes herself as the propagator of the short shorts style. We've seen lots of teams across all divisions go for this slightly slicker, shorter style of shorts, really evolving the Frisbee style.
I like to see the variety. We were discussing this at breakfast the other day, and obviously the people who are about sort of 6'7", the wiry folks of the very tallest, they look really good in the long sort of basketball style, but I love the variety. I'm all about choices, Joe, all about choices. People being able to express themselves how they desire. And the Germans now pushing the French into very tight spaces, swinging it nicely around the back though, showing they've got some throwing prowess against this absolutely turbulent wind right now. Rodriguez far side distributing across, using those long arms to great effect. France with 5 players in the handler space right now, just showing how difficult it is to throw upwind, and there comes the error that the zone is designed to take advantage of. We're going to go for yardage, but a huck and D from the German side. Not sure that Grosse Braukmann had really turned on the jets there.
Yeah, definitely an overthrow. Not the worst tactic, as you mentioned, to go huck and D, especially when this German zone is very effective. The French have a great, very strong series of handlers out there. You've got Danier, number 44, number 95, Marion Tonnerre. Of course, aside Mondiaux, those 3 very comfortable to move the disc through that cup. Not a problem, but it is an intense, it is a difficult cup to break through.
Oh, and there is exactly that. It's difficulty shown. Mondiaux, one of the most capable throwers in this talented women's division, and even she can't break it. 100% consistency. Another German error though is going to give the French an opportunity to replay their zone offense. See Rodriguez there and Mondiaux working together. Nice easy pop.
You might think with a player like Rodriguez's height, you might send her deep in the zone, but actually illustrating here how helpful she can be in the cup, because she can throw it over them a little bit stronger as we see her go deep, stretch the field herself.
It's like she heard you, Joe. We're saying, well, you're going to say that I'm going to stay around and hang out in the handler space, which that's the danger of players like Rodriguez, is they can sort of sit anywhere in the field and be very dangerous, whereas perhaps Mondiaux, not the greatest receiver as one of the smaller players on the field. But my oh my, that woman has excellent disc reading skills. Good work now from the French. They're advancing calmly up the field, positioning their resets quite well. Just really dinking it between each other, and there we go. Rodriguez gets France's first point on the board, and that was some very pretty upwind zone offense. My goodness.
Absolutely. The movements they set in gear in those early points, they really got on a roll there to convert. You could see they had all the ingredients to put that together. They were breaking the cup perfectly fine. They have those upwind throws in those first few points. The German defense managed to just stop them short of getting a point for the first 4 points of this game, but finally France with one on the board, an upwind hold to take it to 4-1.
So first point for France. They get their chase towards fifth underway. A little bit later than the Germans, but that was by no means a clean point for either side. 2 turns apiece, but you have to say, you can hear it so clearly in the field microphone here at Field 2. This game is all about battling the opposition, but also the elements.
Especially when we have teams breaking the other team's offense, that switches the side of the pitch that is the offensive hold. So at this point, Germany going upwind for an offensive hold. If the game continues on serve, that upwind end zone will continue to be the hold end zone, which is a very different game than if the downwind end zone is the hold end zone.
I don't know if it's ever happened to you, Joe, but occasionally, very occasionally, in an upwind, downwind pitch like this one is, you will end up having people will only score in the upwind end zone for some bizarre reason. Which I always feel like there's just some sort of weird magical effect that floats across the field, just saying everyone's going to score the hard way.
It does. Pitches like this, with conditions like this, they often feel like they have a gravity about them. All the players on the pitch starting to feel like there's one area of the end zone that just sucks the disc towards it. As we see France take a commanding zone defense here, really pushing the Germans back, far back into their own end zone.
Well, this is Callahan territory for sure. And Gerner's going to find a release valve in the shape of her teammate Manhertz, the number 8 in the center of the field. Germany now with a fab gel break, but the French zone is going to realign itself on and then melted to match defense right now. Gerner sporting, rather than the red hat, an iconic pink headband. Toppling to the ground goes the force of France. Good matchup, Levalier to Gerner. She had a great game on the last live stream match for France, and that is smothering defense from France as they move out of their zone look into match.
Absolutely smothering. It seemed like Germany had finally broken through and gotten the disc moving very nicely out pitch, but a great piece of defense from France to get the disc back.
Nice high release from the arm of Anne Le Borgne, also known as Nanou, one of the Yaka players on the French side. She's going to go upfield. Frustration for Josephine Wolf. She puts it out. Oh, and there's a play on the disc from Samarco, but oh, sorry, not Samarco. That's Levalier. Levalier. Trying to read there. I've been spooked, Joe, on the roster. It's all in caps and it's confusing my brain. Levalier, I think that would be pronounced. I'll have to ask the icon photographer, John Kofi, who's to my left, see if he can help me out with that pronunciation. But Gerner gets the defensive play for Germany. She launches a huge arcing backhand. And of course, who's under it? Le Borgne with the block.
Some excellent defense here by France, aware that as soon as the turn goes, the Germans have been looking for that long ball into the upwind end zone, and aware that those discs hang high and fall short, taking positioning, knocking it out of the sky, not willing to let the Germans get a short field offensive possession.
And you hear a lovely smattering of French and German from the sideline on our field mic as both teams engage with their players on the field, hoping to get an 8th person defense as Manhertz with the block. Toussaint to Bruns. Now Kappelman. Gonna look a little frustrated for options, puts it out to the space, but that's gonna be way too far for Gerner to reel in. An absolutely frantic water break there. That was faster than an F1 pit stop. Josephine Wolf there taking on some hydration. Not only are these players playing under the hot sun, but the wind really whips the water out of you. So, Nanu De Boyne with the disc in hand. We were, as I said, pronouncing her, well, nicknaming her as One-Eyed Anne, which is the transliteration of her surname. Turns out that was not a joke from Yaka, but just an auto-translation fail from Facebook, as Yaka put a gorgeous shot deep, but who's under it but Manhertz, and an immediate error. France gained the yards regardless, as the wind just takes the disc out of the German hands.
Lots of turns so far from this point. 3 from France, 4 from Germany. It's becoming one of those points where you feel like the winner of it will really take momentum going forward.
Well, at the moment, of course, there's no bias in our commentary booth, Joe. We just want to see as much spicy, close ultimate in this women's division as possible. So I'd quite like to see France score this one, just literally on the basis of it gets that point back to level the score a little bit closer, make this match more spicy and exciting. But that's a beautiful upwind throw. Kappelman now to Pruns. Oh, and there's an error perhaps. Sabine Manhertz was a little bit too excited from having gotten quite so many defensive successful efforts for her side at the moment.
Germans adjusting to this 3 handler back offense by sending 1 poach in the lane from that far side handler.
Oh, and a little bit of lack of attention from Baj Limoges. And the disc is not going to be backed up after it sails over the intended target. I think that was Richon in the center of the field, but I could be wrong. And Toussaint taking a timeout. I like that call.
Definitely a long point, an opportunity to give your players a bit of rest. We've talked about the heat so far. It is hot today. I had someone tell me earlier that the reading at that point was 33 degrees Celsius, but the temperature, the feeling of the temperature does change throughout this complex. This pitch widely recognized to be the hottest because of its positioning, but primarily because of the turf, which retains the heat and then sends it back out into the air. So players having an opportunity to take on some water. We see some wet, I assume ice cold towels being passed around the German team, cooling their teammates down. Previously, we've seen fans on pitch, squirt water bottles on pitch, all sorts of efforts by teams to keep cool in this Hungarian heat.
Taking a stroll around Dürr, which until I'd arrived, Joe, I didn't realize was quite such a beautiful, historic city. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you ever fancy a holiday in Hungary and are in the area, please do visit. It's a lovely city indeed. I just sort of exploring it yesterday, just swanning around, getting a little bit lost in the city centre. I can highly recommend never accepting directional instructions from Liam Grant if you ever want to get anywhere anytime fast. But we stumbled upon what I think is probably an event going on this weekend, perhaps this evening. There was a stage nicely there, but an entire row of little misters just randomly in the middle of the city centre, showing how warm it is. I can tell you, Joe, the current temperature in Dürr is 30 degrees Celsius, and that is at 4:30 in the afternoon. So it's been sweltering here. As you say, this field, it's about probably at least 2 or 3 degrees Celsius hotter than anywhere else. But of course, the action here is hot, hot, hot indeed.
We see Germany set up after this timeout in a vertical stack with a handler 180 degrees behind the disc. That's a move that we've seen them take a lot. It means that they can move to either side and be ready for a pass. If you have very good handler reset defense, it can be quite easy to match up against, but the disc goes upfield in this case.
So as you say, the traditional look we see from the German handler set. Oh, and that's a beautiful inside shot. The wind drops almost perfectly, and that one just sits out of the hand of Kappelmann and into the end zone for the score. Germany take that marathon point for the hold, maintain their 4-point lead. The score now 5-1.
Yeah, and also maintain their momentum. As we said, long points like that can often be the deciding factor. The winner of those points gets buoyed by the excitement. The loser maybe feels the tiredness of them a bit more. That is a hold from Germany, but an upwind hold, which is difficult. And with 5 turns apiece in that point, the French had many opportunities to get one of the breaks back that they need and weren't able to capitalize on them. So Germany with rather a commanding performance so far in this first half. The French looking a bit shut out. They'll need to get 3 breaks back if they want to tie it up. It is a big effort so far, as the first half will either be closed out once one team gets to 8, or if we reach the half cap of 50 minutes. But with only 30 minutes on the board, we'll probably get to the points cap.
I agree, Joe. Unless we keep having those marathon points, we should probably make the numbers. But certainly France will have something to say about that. They currently need a further 7 to win this first half. So I might be a little surprised to see them fighting it out for this 5th position. We'll talk a little bit more about their results as this game goes on. But they took that sneaky win off Finland this morning. And so, once again, a zone look from Germany. So we see lots of handlers around the disc, but where Richon fails, she's backed up by Frétinier. Le Bon, far side to Coulias. Nice movement across here. Oh, I thought that had been thrown and snaffled, but great fake, sold me. The volume there. These French players managing to work it laterally around the zone. Müller there doing a great job of trying to get the run-throughs. I would have liked to see when they penetrated through that cup, maybe not just the immediate reset back. Maybe have a little look upfield.
The French, with so many players behind the disc, just really one in that upfield space, gives them a lot of opportunities to move it around the cut. But as you say, once they do break through, there's nobody in that middle space ready for the next attack.
It's sort of like you want to see the far side. As we see the number 22, Frétinier, coming in. It'd be nice to see her engage a little bit more in the center of the field when that disc comes on the far side. But they've melted out into match defense now. As we see Bruni looking upfield for some action. Nice turn there. Oh, good determination. Goes to the knees. Samarka keeping it alive. Has Le Bon upfield. Nanu. Zach goes for the foot block. Oh, and that's a tasty inside shot. Keeps the body on the ground. Frétinier, hero of this point right now. Le Bon, oh, she's going to put it up a little bit behind the intended target. That's Richon, looking like she might be carrying an injury with that knee tape. And the Germans play Huck and D again.
So frustrating for the French to have turned over just at that end zone point. They'd made such a good possession up until there. Some incredible athletic moves. possession-saving grabs from the French players, some really beautiful upwind throws, but tightly defended by the Germans and sent back into their own end zone to have to work it all the way up the pitch again.
So both these teams battling against each other. Looking a little frustrated on that far side. It was a bit of a zipper over to Rodriguez. Lots of reps. Richon, the number 5. Couillard's going to send to San Marco. Oh, and there's a little error again. France just really not helping themselves, but the Germans are making them, testing them with so many passes. And so, Kusk with the disc firmly engages the reset. An uncontested foul though on that high release. Bourdieu getting a little bit too hungry.
Was a bit of a bailout pass there, I think. The stall must be quite high, but because it's an uncontested foul, it goes back to 0. The German offense gets to reset again.
Yeah, you can see the way the disc flew. That was not what she'd intended whatsoever. A nice clean looking set from the Germans. 4 players in almost a diamond shape, with a further 3 in the stack, waiting patiently as we see Vlkling shimmy and shake on the force. She's going to put it up into the space for Kusik. San Marco with a huge effort, but unable to deny the Germans their 6th point of this game.
San Marco going to work there for her team, putting in so much effort on offense and defense, but just not enough to stop this German steam train. The defensive plays that came there from Germany, it was sort of a steady crescendo of defensive pressure. That zone just continuing to ask a lot of the French handlers until the one pass where it's too much, and then getting this really nice up the line cut and throw for the score. The Germans really steaming away with this first half, 6-1.
And so the German zone continues to be effective in stifling the offense of France. Be nice to see them, Joe. I know the French don't have quite as many big targets as the German side. Quite a tall squad from Germany. But it'd be nice to see them lash it deep a couple more times. Do a little bit of what the Germans are doing. Just try and get a throw upfield. Play some intense defense. Try and give yourself a nicer field position. And also, if you can get under them, they've got some speedy receivers. If you put it out far enough, you never know. But I think it might build up their confidence as we see a nice over the top there for Mélanie Herbet. Into Ledoux. Waits patiently, does Danier. Mon Dieu. Opens up the break spine of the field, but looks like they're a bit of double coverage there. Backhand immediately from the Germans. Taken out by Mondiaux. She's going to put up a big disc for Rodriguez. That is a lovely connection once more between the two Yaka players. France stem the bleeding momentarily, put their 2nd point in the net for this game.
It's like they heard you talking a little bit there about what they might want their offensive strategy to be. Going with that downwind point with Rodriguez on the pitch, it's a great idea to put it high into the end zone. She's going to have height on pretty much every one of those German defenders, going to be able to get up over them. Mondiaux with a great piece of defense and then immediately putting that up. The French having a hold, not yet a break, but a convincing offensive possession on that second asking.
And it also, as I said, sort of fires your offensive lines up a little bit when you can really be expansive. And it also means that the defense have to respect you a little bit more in terms of perhaps letting you get a few easier unders. When you're having to just work it between your handler set over and over and over, it becomes repetitive, it becomes tiresome for them. They start to maybe make some focus errors, a little bit of sloppy executions, but if you can really open up the space on the field, be more expansive, and just a bit more creative with your throws, can really change the shape of a game. But they're gonna need to stop the Germans from holding downwind and claim at least one of the breaks back. So we see Ghana there slicing the pitch open to Liebert. And we again see the French with his own flat front three, trying to just keep the swings from the handlers nice and passive and flat. Ghana getting a bit more aggressive against it. Easy reset to Kappelman. Hosokawa trying to draw out Nidlik to perhaps free up the players downfield, who are all looking mighty static right now. Just waiting for the handlers to perhaps throw them open. Hosokawa poached off. Good faking right now. Kappelman across to Tisson. Hosokawa finds Ghana in a nice little pocket in the center. And here the French doing back to the Germans what they just did. Nice patience. Drinker, and number 45. Haven't seen too much of her on the field. Nice to see her getting involved in the action on the offensive line for Germany. And now engaging the upfield players more. Manhertz with the backwards cap. Ghana's cut determined. Nice around, and to space for Tisson. She's going to put it up far too high, though. Overshoots Hosokawa, and there comes the German mistake.
Beautiful offense from the Germans up until that last throw. A real put on a clinic there with the handlers in that zone, showing every single way that you can work around a cup, swinging it, popping from behind into the cup, popping from behind the cup, back through towards the handlers. But that last throw just goes a little bit over, and the French will be very excited to get an offensive look here, especially as the wind has really died down.
Oh, commentators curse there, Joe. You say that and a little gust sort of caresses us here in the booth. We're not as exposed as we would be if we were up in a tower right now, but that's going to be this back in German hands. Hot pressure from the mark on Tisson. That's number 24, Melanie Hervé. Causes a very lofty disc. Great effort to try and swipe away the disc, but Gascon unable to prevent the German reception. Ghana very close to the goal line. Resets to Tisson. Oh, and she's going to punch it low. Was it scooped up well enough by the number 8, Simona Liebert? Going to be called good. No, pulled down, called down.
No, it looks like it is being called up. The Germans fled the field, indicating that that was a point. I did see the French team indicating up and indicating a goal. So it looks like that is a score.
So I think I just misannounced the player scooping that up off the floor. That's Sabine Meinherz there, as I was just corrected by Hugo. Katharina Schulze of Yogo Bonito fame. Apparently the captain of Yogo Bonito, or certainly one of Hugo's compatriots on that team, gets very excited when I name drop them and their very unique style. I wonder if we can get just on the little corner of your screen, just there, swaggering off the pitch. That's Schulze wearing the Yogo Bonito cap. So you talking about Frisbee fashions, you did say that she's the progenitor of the short look, and the Yogo Bonito fashion more generally is very iconic. She also dons a very fetching necky. She's literally right next to our cameraman, Mike Palmer, so we might get a little shot of her. She laughs on the sideline as the defensive line for Germany come out in force. We'll have to get a nice shot also of her K-tape. The German physio apparently knows it all. He's been trying to give the German side here his best handiwork as the French show that they have very capable throws now against the match look of the Germans. Oh, a nice little flip inside backhand there from France. Oh, and Richon's going to open up the arm, but doesn't connect with any of her teammates. Nobody streaking deep. A nice idea from France, but seems like Richon was on her own with thinking about that one. And match coverage now from France as they do some transitional defense. Germans on the march towards the upwind end zone. Shuck on the disc. Looks around for the reset, puts up it nicely. Müller, the Spirit captain, I believe. Lefty backhand to Zach. Close to taking another break is the German D-line. Müller, the lefty flick to the far side of the end zone. Miles free is Rika Wagner.
Really nice piece of reset handling there by Müller. She noticed how free she was. Her defender was absolutely taking away that up the line shot, saying, I will not have you go up the line into that far side of the end zone. Müller recognized that, decided to not make an active cut, just stood in space, let her thrower know she was there, and that meant that the disc got to her quickly enough that the poaching defender wasn't able to get back and set in time to cut off that break side throw. As you see it go off here, she's in so much space. She can put that flick out into the break space, take advantage of that break side very quickly. Very nice handler movement by the Germans.
It's also helpful as Germany take half, Joanna, to point out the fact that Müller is a lefty thrower. So not only did she get out onto that break space, and you say the mark can't set up to prevent the continuation throw, but also it's having that extra reach as the lefty. If the backhand side is the break side of the force, it's such an adjustment. Are you a lefty, Joe?
Yes, I am.
This is exactly what we talk about. This every time I mark you. I forget you're a lefty because I'm never sure if it's you or one of the other UK women who look perhaps a little bit like you. But yeah, it's always an adjustment.
It's a huge advantage. You can't teach tall, you can't really teach left-handedness, but both of them a bit of an unfair inborn advantage.
Well, I think you probably can teach yourself lefty, especially those that injure their right hands or perhaps are more ambidextrous. Some instrumentalists find that quite easy. In fact, would you like to know a fun fact?
Always.
Sarah Sparks in the women's division, she plays ultimate left-handed, but actually does everything else right-handed. Fun fact for you, bit like my mum plays golf left-handed because her dad taught her that way. So yeah, bizarre scenes in women playing sport with their non-normal dominant hands. So little highlights there from the first half. We're going to take a quick break here on field 2, but stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the women's 5-6. Half-time nearly over as the French are already prepared on the field. To the right-hand side, they will come out on offense going downwind. So hopefully gnawing one of the points off of this German lead. They currently stand 8-2 in this 5-6 match. Had a little chat to Spirit captain Marlene Müller there about there's a little discussion between two of the French and two of the German players, including Müller, as I say, one of the Spirit captain of Germany women. She informed me that that was about in the front near corner of the, well, on the doorstep of the end zone, there was a contact call, which of course is it's like a foul, but it's not a stoppage, so the stall has to reset back to 0, but of course we used to, in the ultimate game, with marking infractions that aren't fouls, and obviously therefore not stoppages, dropping the stall only by 2. It is a relatively new rule, only 2 years old, but it did catch me out, I have to say, at Windmill earlier this season. But just having a little chat about that, and making sure that everyone on the field has the top level of rules knowledge and use. As we see, in front of us, Gerner's put the cap back on. Exciting scenes here. France attacking against another German zone look. Advancing down the field well. Nice and smooth and easy, does it with the wind at their backs. They need to put this one in as we see Rodriguez on the disc looking for Mondiaux. And that's a visionary throw, going to be chased down but a little bit too high. Nayes putting enough pressure to put off, I think that's Pauline Berthe in the deep space there.
Mondiaux maybe trying to do a bit too much for her team there. The French possession did look very calm, very confident. Handlers who are as good as Mondiaux can often want to open up space with their throws, but the cutter maybe not just ready for it.
Oh, I saw a flash of a fall there, not Berthe trying to chase that one down, but Hebel, as we see Germany launch it deep. Nayes the intended target, but there we go. Battle there between her and Melanie Hebel. And he gets the better of that one this time. Mondio finds Rodriguez. She's going to open up that arm. Big puts aplenty, but another overthrow from the women in blue.
I was about to say that I think the wind has died down a little bit. It's definitely still here, definitely catching that disc a bit, but just not really comparable to the previous two games we saw on this pitch, in which the wind was the main story. It's still an upwind, downwind game here, but shouldn't really affect the throws too much as we see a quick bobble turn from Germany.
Trissing, they're not able to keep her claws around that one. Short field opportunity for the French to punch in the first point out of this second half. Mondio looks for a reset, can't find anyone and just puts it into the space in front and again doesn't connect with Melanie Herbe, but that was a bit of a just sleepy handler movement as Nayez goes up with two. Nice read for her. Marked by Rodriguez, who goes for the cheeky foot block. Bit of kung fu marking and manages to pressure the German thrower to disconnect from the position of Katharina Schulze.
That's a great matchup there. Rodriguez on Nayez, almost equal in height, and something that tall players often don't do is practice against a mark as tall as them with as wide a wingspan, sometimes a bit put off by that extra height.
Schulze goes to ground to try and prevent Daniela Rodriguez's reception, and that's a saucy minx of an inside throw to the center of the end zone. Lasers it for the score. Germany up 8-3, but the French are fighting back.
A commanding catch of that disc, absolutely snagging it out of the air. The immediate point back at the thrower, thanking her for a great inside throw. Germany will be very happy to have kept that point on the disc. As you said, the first throw out of half, the first point out of half, keeping that offensive possession, keeping that hold. Strong performance by the French offense.
So they start their campaign in this second half. Score is now 8-3. As Joe gets, I think you're getting a bit spooked by our commentary source system there, maybe, Joe?
I can't figure out how to indicate that half had happened, so you and I, let's just remember that there was half.
Well, we'll have to, are we still on server, or is that going to mess? It's fine, Joe, it's fine. Joe's been doing an absolute stunner of a job here in the booth. This is her first appearance at a major tournament. I'm just going to take this opportunity, Joe, to big you up and say what an absolute stunner of a job you've been doing all week long. What a quality color commentator we have in you. Found a gem. If you want to get involved with the media coverage in here, these sort of level of tournaments, whether behind a camera, a microphone, or our production desk, please do get in touch with the European Federation, because we would love to have you on board our team. Germany now against the French zone. Looking nice and patient. We're sitting 5 points pretty. They can afford to play a little bit of keepy, disky, prunes, streaking deep. That's a sinker of a put from Anna Gerner. Liebert, oh, just bobbles it against her own knees. What a shame.
Yeah, pity to lose that. A great deep throw there by Gerner. We just saw her on the sideline earlier. She'd like to shout out her parents who are watching. She's been having an absolutely massive game for Germany, both today and yesterday.
France now looking to respond in the early stages of this second half. Trailing a little. So you see match coverage. Person defense upfield, high stall situation, and that is an amazing pressured throw from Mondio, showing her class and emphatic style with a lovely flat put into the path of Rodriguez. Ledoux back to Rodriguez. A little bit of a slip there when Rodriguez doesn't fully do the splits here on the rubber crumb though. Mondio Back to Rodriguez, has a cut available upfield. She's going to put it into the space, and that is a break for France.
Great, great play there from France. Putting another one on the board, which they really needed, but not just working it in any sort of boring style, really moving up the pitch with emphatic throws. Lots of direction there from Rodriguez and Mondiaux, telling their cutters what they wanted to see from them. Some beautiful slight upwind throws, a great find in the back of the end zone. As we see the wind die down here a little bit, it appears to be playing to the French advantage. The Germans potentially earlier in the game when the wind was stronger, having the upper advantage, maybe having a bit better throws in the wind. But as that wind dies down, maybe leveling the playing field a little bit, the French moving it up no problem in this offensive possession.
And that is a nice throw out into the space. Trust, as we see Müller there doing a bit of a finny, the coach for the German women's side. Lovely Marco. And there he is, just trotting off towards the sideline, having dished out some advice to the offensive unit on the field. Got some pretty big names on there. Gerner, Tesson Prunes. I think that's Cheeky Wagner on the far side of the field. No, that's Kappelman, sorry. Difficult from our on-field position. We're not raised up like we usually are here on field 2. Making a little extra challenge for us here in the booth, seeing over the players who walk in front of us to try and make the right calls based on jersey numbers. But Germany very static right now. I think there must have been a call on the field. Look out for some hand signals.
We can hear the players indicating that there was a fast count, so hoping to set the stall count back down a few.
The call is a double team. Getting some information from the French coach now. We haven't really featured the French coaching staff yet. We'll have to give you some shout outs to them, but we'll get back in action on the field. Tissot. Ghana. Very static over the top to Pruns. Oh, that's a really nicely positioned disc. Just sails over the defender and sits in the pocket behind for the collection. Now transition person coverage from the French. Disc goes up to Hosokawa. Good clap catch. Maintaining possession. Pruns on the goal line. Players trying to grind to that front corner, and there's a lefty reaching grab. That's a stylish catch from Caroline Tisson.
Beautiful offense there from Germany. As we mentioned, the wind much, much quieter now. That is potentially still a little bit the upwind end zone, but not to any real intense degree. Interestingly enough, the wind dies down. We saw fewer big looks from the Germans, much happier to work it with a deep cut fake and then an under throw to each of their receivers, but commandingly kept hold of possession there and put that one in. As you mentioned, a great athletic catch here by Tisson.
So Germany maintain their lead in this match. Score now 9-4, a 5-point ahead. Do we have the names of the coaching staff as we see the little coach there on the back? The French coaching unit looking. It's all about the polos here. Just saw their mixed team do very well on the stadium field. So Jonathan Jacques and Jan Toussaint, I believe their two staff are. Haven't really had much of a chance to chat to them this tournament, but they've got a solid clipboard game going on. And matching hats, they're really coordinated.
That's what's really important from a coaching staff, keeping the team together with their fashion.
Exactly. Well, it's the professionalism though, Joe. I still remember many moons ago when it was the novelty for the entire team to go and kneel in front of the line so they could all listen into what the strategy was for that point. I remember when that was a new thing. These days, not all teams favouring that. Seeing some different looks here in terms of strategy, but the French now with the... Oh, an overthrow scooped up by Müller. And off to the races go Germany, Wilkening on the disc. Rumpelt around. Is there big movement of that left foot for Rumpelt? Not called on the field, but a turnover gives the disc back to the French. Schuck marking up against Mondiaux. The big arm of the French unit, the French machine. Rodriguez, center of the field. Oh, and that's a visionary shot out. Doesn't get the bid from Mondiaux, just a bit too much spice on that one. Blades into the rubber crumb.
We've seen that pairing work so well in so many games for the French. This time perhaps just pushing it a bit too far, trying to get those throws between the two when it's not quite ready. One of them's maybe not yet looking for it. The Germans putting on the pressure that requires them to take it earlier than they want to so they can get the disc back.
Great effort from the defense of France. Pressures the Germans into making an error. Short field for the arm of Mondiaux. She tells her sideline to quiet down so she can focus. Oh, and puts up a disc into space and going to be run down with great effect. Mathilde Ledoux, for the score. A little bit of oxygen for the French side, closing the gap from 4 to 3 points.
Mondiaux quite clearly taking a quarterbacking role there in that possession. The way that she picked up the disc, the soothing presence she gave to the sideline. She looked at her receiver. Her receiver clearly knows her quite well, knows what she wants in the end zone. She'll be very happy with having put that one away, and so will her team, really calming them down, reminding them that they have great offense when they can string it together.
I'm not entirely sure if it was intentional, but I like the way that Ledoux just looked over the left shoulder and then set off to the deep space. Like I say, not sure if that was an intentional thing, but she clocking over the left shoulder, looks like she might be turning herself around to get that inside shot, but then the switch of the movement, off she goes towards that far corner, well, the deep corner. It's the near side of the field for you and I and our wonderful viewers at home. If you are enjoying the coverage of this women's 5-6 match, please do get in touch with us. You can find me on Twitter. Fortunately, Joanna has yet to be bullied into creating her own account, so you can get in touch and tell her how much you love her commentary in person. But it's DiscGal31 for me if you want to get a shout out here on this live streamed match. So the French D-line with it all to do, facing a 3-point deficit. Oh, 4-point deficit, there we go. I missed that we'd already had the score applied. Hosokawa with the disc. Very loose mark from France. Perhaps a bit warier about that deep shot, but out it comes anyway into the hands of Svenja Pruns. Around to Forsch. Forsch, oh, nice lofty backhand release, just really demonstrating to us how much the wind has dropped in this stage of the game. Tisson. Oh, and finds Forsch absolutely miles open. Vera Forsch with the goal to get Germany to double digits.
Massive play from Germany there. Really beautiful offense. They came out with that pull play. All four players in that horizontal stack immediately streaking deep, and then one coming under, very well defended by the French. Not really an opportunity for that pull play to work out, but doesn't really matter for the Germans. They're not tied down to what they said they would do on the line. They're happy to do something completely different. As you said, much less wind here. These throws coming off beautifully now. Some ones that might have been taken by the wind earlier. We see the French sideline there trying to hype themselves up, asking for a bit more cheer from their team as they walk back down to the line to come out again on offense. But you just definitely have the feeling that this game is being led and designed by Germany.
Shot of Marlene Müller there on the floor, the spirit captain for the German women's side. Not sure exactly what the laying down is about. I did see her doing that before the game, so perhaps she's feeling a little bit unwell. It is very, very hot. We've seen many players fall foul of heat stroke throughout the stages of this tournament. Perhaps not entirely helped by perhaps a little less water than we might have expected for this championship around the fields here in Djur. But we're delighted to be here nonetheless as we finish out the very last stages of the tournament here for all but those in the final matches. Kosa Braukman now with the disc, looks upfield to Bick. She's gonna fake it but throw the reset. It's good work pressing up the line. Looking a little bit on her own, and that's a great play from the French Vanina Bordier going to the ground to keep the Germans from scoring their 11th point of this match.
Excellent effort there by the French, showing that they're not out of this yet. They're definitely not willing to just roll over and let this go down. We've seen bigger comebacks in this tournament, particularly in the women's division. So there's no easy hold here for Germany. They're going to have to battle if they want to win.
Le Bon there looking open, looking off quite a few open cuts, chooses the difficult throw to the around. Elisa Bruni doing everything within her power to try and scoff that one into her hands, but not to be, as we see the other 7 for Germany. Schulze picking up the disc. Nice around, just within reach of Jasper. Spanut. Center field position. Again, we see that positioning of the handlers 180 degrees behind. Oh, and the reaching dive of Kosa Braukman doesn't come up with the goods. French, another opportunity as we see, well, I say see, we can't see the wind, but we can certainly feel it picking up again.
French coming out in a horizontal stack now, as opposed to on their last possession they had a side stack pull play, showing lots of different offensive looks. But again, Germany with a turn, but indicating a foul, no contest.
Yeah, it just gets a little bit too much of the action to Spanut as she comes through for that block. You can see actually that right hand, I think possibly the shoulder as well, coming through, making contact with Elisa Bruni. So can you see Germany stepping off the mark, wary of the deep shot? Oh, and the pass is picked off by the number 62, Jasper. And a timeout call by Spanot. Not unhappy with that. They, looking very, very sloppy. We've kind of given up on the stats, but I'd probably say there's been about 3 or 4 turns apiece at this point.
Definitely at one of these long points. We often talk about sometimes a timeout can sort of stifle flow and stop play and potentially give the defense a bit of an advantage, but we've just seen crushing offense here from Germany. They've done such a good job of making really great cuts and then very efficient handler fakes, transitioning those cuts. If it's coming perhaps open under, the cutter immediately moves to the open break side so that the thrower can get that throw off. I don't know, even though France gets an opportunity to set up here whatever end zone defense they would like to try and stifle this German possession, the German offensive side has just been so strong throughout. They've really been able to get the disc where they want it to. So I would rate Germany's chances quite highly of putting this one in this slightly downwind end zone.
Well, only time will tell if you're right, Joe.
And I've so far been very wrong about things in this tournament. In the Germany-Italy game earlier, you asked me who I thought would win. I definitely thought Germany would win right up until the end, right up until that universe point. I had picked them as the winners of that matchup. I was wrong. They're here in this 5th place game. Italy went through into the 1st place bracket. But I stand by my choices as Germany being a strong side. They didn't come out the winner of that particular game, but really showing us that they are a contender for that 1st place game with their style and with their level of play.
Well, and this is the German side we really wanted to see at the end of this tournament. I still think that that quarter-final matchup against Italy is the match of the entire championship. We still have finals day yet to come, and that's going to throw some spicy action at us. And I mean, no disrespect whatsoever to the Russia-Ireland game from before, but yeah, that was definitely worth the fan seat subscription on its own, as Schulze posts through the letterbox to Grosse Braukmann for the score. The Germans take legs 11 over France at just 5.
The Germans celebrating that point as if it's their first one, all coming out on the pitch with their synchronized arm movements, just as enthusiastic about that one as they were the first point. I think that's also giving them the edge here. France is a bit quiet, walking back to the line quite silently, a few of them trying to string a cheer together. We see some high fives. They're not out of this mentally, but they just don't look like they're having as much fun as Germany.
Well, perhaps, Joe, after having that grinder of a match against Finland, who have had some feedback this tournament for perhaps their communication, which has gotten better from what I've heard. But perhaps that's maybe taken a little bit out on them, having that really hard matchup coming into this 5th, 6th placing match. But I agree with you. I was wondering when you were going to pick up on that, Joe. They just seem a little bit flat. The body language, you know, perhaps not quite as, you know, open as it could be. High, strong shoulders. You know, using the placebo effect of the fake it till you make it in terms of the power posing, which I'm never sure if that's a fact or a factoid these days, but either way, France's O-line coming out with a much-needed hold as they trail by 6 points. Berta, central field position, moves it across to Tomer, the lefty into Hebert, who's been having a pretty great game despite her team not being in front. Some nice defensive plays. Oh, and she snags that one away from Nora Vilkening. Finds a nice pop up to Mondieu. Good aggressive upline cutting. Oh, that's a sensational release. She's just so good. And France find Daniela Rodriguez with another lofty put. And here they capitalize finally on the dropped wind conditions with those high, cheeky release points, just putting them into the small channels where the Germans can't get their claws at them.
The thrower of that point there, Charlotte Danier, looking a little bit sheepish, a little bit embarrassed after she released it. It definitely had to go over the hands of 2 defenders, but I don't think she had any reason to look sheepish. It was the perfect throw, recognizing the height mismatch. Rodriguez was there, sort of floating in the back of the end zone, put it over 2 defenders to reach her, and France will be very happy with that hold.
So perhaps the form being found by the French a bit too little too late maybe to sneak this one out. They'll certainly have a good go of it, as we see behind us the Italian women warming up for the bronze medal match against the women of Russia. That one hopefully should be a good matchup. Of course, talking about needing to do some mental recovery, the Italian side having lost to injury Laura Farolfi in their semi-final match, which I'm sure gnawed a big hole in their confidence. Be so excited to see them come out here on this field, though, as the Germans launch it deep to 2 potential targets, but connect with neither of them. Just a bridge too far.
Perhaps just a bit too excited about the capacity to approach closing out this match here for the Germans, giving the France another offensive possession, another breath of air, another chance to attempt a break here to bring the scores a little bit closer.
So France shooting upwind. Mondieu. Oh, nice inside shot to Mélanie Herbet. Pressure release to Rodriguez. This is now a nice movement upfield, but an execution error. You can see the frustration there as Emil Nedelec jumps up and down on this bouncy rubber crumb. Gerner bringing us back with the German offense. Hans Liebert. Nice pass up to Tisson, who's very loosely marked. And thus is able to get out that inside break backhand. Oh, and that is a money throw from Germany. Into the bank it goes for their 12th point of this match.
Beautiful throw, making up somewhat for that first German turnover. As we heard the French sideline there calling the different forces they were trying to put on. It seemed like they were forcing middle there, which is a great look to stop those down the sideline hooks, but it does open up those cross pitch hooks. So Gerner there being forced back towards the middle of the pitch. Her receiver downfield recognizing that she was also being forced to go to that side of the pitch, so able to put up a cross field hook from the open side into the open side. One of the dangers of playing force middle is that it's really hard for your downfield defenders to pick which side they should be on, especially if you can swing the disc very quickly. The force side changes with throw to throw, and the defender just caught off the wrong side there.
So the German machine looking to close this one out. They've been pretty difficult for France to deal with in this matchup. Not the only game to be in the late stages with a comfortable margin. Be great to see the French fight back. But we'll have to see if they can manage to put 6 points past the Germans, as we see Schulze coming up big for the D-line. Nayas looks for an option, eventually finds one in the form of Corsa Braukmann, but the throw just gets away from her. Richon with the disc. Oh, and again, heavy pressure, span it on the back of Elisa Brunisch. Again, Bruni taking heavy contact from the German defense.
The foul uncontested, so we'll stay with the French team. Nice to see that talked out very nicely there.
Would have, of course, been nicer to see no contact at all, but France happy to play through it. Really physical right now from the players in white. But showing perhaps just how much they want to end this one quickly. This will be, of course, their last game of this European Championship. Maybe they've got their eyes on this evening's party in the University Hall. Although I did hear that that's actually been moved, Joanna, to a different location. So please do make sure you get the information about where the party is, because obviously if you turn up to the wrong location and miss out, you'll be sorely disappointed. We'll be there, that's for sure. Throwing some shapes, but right now all that France care about throwing is a score. Around. Oh, and that's a really nice throw, reeled in finally after taking a few blows. Elisa Bruni with the score from the arm of Alice San Marco.
French will be very happy to put that one away. The German defense was very good there on their poach blocks. Amazing presence of mind to think about where they were on the pitch. Perhaps not so good with their run-through D attempts. Quite a lot of contact on both of them. We saw a quick discussion between a German player and a French player there. It's up to the players to set what level of contact they are comfortable with, communicate it to the other team, and then it's up to all the players to adhere to that level of contact. So good to see them have a discussion, good to see them agree on the level they want to, and then what's important from now on is for both teams to keep to that level and be consistent throughout the game.
So we just had a question from the Italian coaching staff asking who was up in this match and what the score was. I pointed him. The scorekeeper has moved to the far side of the field as we are with only one element of shade left. The parasols we've been given here to keep us cool and in shade on field 2 have been absolutely annihilated by the winds here, which just goes to show how difficult the conditions on this pitch has been. As we see the German O-line. Yeah, it definitely looks like the O-line. We've got Gerner, Tisson, Kappelmann at the back. Bruns, Foch, Hosokawa. And then just in the backfield, stretching it deep, although at the moment coming under quite effectively Manhertz. Although she sets off as soon as she sees the disc swung across. Nice high grab for Foch. Kappelmann's off to the races, completely unmarked in the deep space. They choose to swing it though, making the right smart choices, running their systems against this French zone. Foch, far side to Tisson. And to Gerner. This O-line with only 10 players on it versus the defensive line from Germany, which has 2 lines. And the number escapes me though as we watch this offensive point. Foch looking very alone on that far sideline, eventually squeezes it through to Tisson. Looks for the around. Gerner's going to churn again, just jamming it in the jam hole to that front corner.
Not huge celebrations from either team after that point, just to start. A bit unclear about whether it was scored, but in the end, yes. Gerner with another goal, working so hard for her team. She had that initial backfield cut. The throw didn't come up, so she just motored up the line into the end zone. The Germans really trying to put away this game here. Just 2 points from closing it out, taking 5th place at the European Ultimate Championships. Really wanting to show a commanding presence here in this second bracket. Not able to make it into the finals.
And if you're France right now, this is the moment when you start to switch it on, not necessarily for the win of the game, but just for your own, just peace of mind, leaving it all on the field. As you say, this is the last game of the championship for both teams. And we love that little celebration for the fans back at home. Beautiful stuff from Anna Gerner there, just waving and smiling. We did mention briefly and then got interrupted by the play on the field, the fact that there are a number of big names still yet missing from this behemoth of a women's roster for the Germans.
The other thing to keep in mind is that though this is the last game of this tournament, most of these teams will be preparing for the World Championships next year. So though France might not be in the running to...
Oh, that's a hero bid. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joe, but that was worth celebrating. It's given right back, though. Conservation of greatness for France. What a shame.
Massive place on both sides there.
Wagner. Oh, Rodriguez doing a great job of nearly marking out Nora Vilkening. Can't quite deny the German from Paraschlicker Erdferkel, the ugly Arvox, but there's nothing ugly about that point for Germany. Called good on the field, and they bring it within 1, their first match point for the defensive line.
Absolutely beautiful movement there by Germany. As you mentioned, 2 big plays in a row, a save from France and then a throwaway. But that final score went in so well. That last throw had to come out with so much zip to make it past Danier. She was right there protecting that side, but the throw went out early, it went out quickly, and it just didn't leave enough room for a defensive bid.
And this is exactly what Germany would have dreamed of after losing out in yesterday's quarter-final matchup, Joe. They would have been envisaging this. They would have been doing the mental preparation, just sort of putting themselves in that headspace of being in this position with double the scoreline of their opponents in this closing match. They've really shown a lot of quality, but I just want to get a little bit more of our colour factors in. We've been talking about these German cheers, and they all come out of them playing charades at the end of their their training sessions. We did announce what 2 of them were. Now we have the salad and the emu. The tough ones make it to the garden, which is all about the impressions of the tree during the charades. But the third one is the Macarena, which they have done a couple of times, their little celebration. They haven't pulled it out in this match though, so maybe we'll see that if the D-line can take it out as the French battle to keep this game alive. Mon Dieu. Across the field to Tonnerre. Oh, and that's an absolutely gorgeous leading pass to the streaming Nedelec. She's running out of options, just absolutely launches it. A faith put, and what a reception from her teammate. Goes up with 2 hands. Connection with Pauline Berthe. And that is a really nice effort from the French. They're not done yet. Their O-line converts.
Absolutely. Emphatic goal there from the French. And as we were mentioning, it can be difficult at this point. 14-8 down. You might not think you're going to win this match. There's a temptation to think we didn't make it into that first place bracket. This is the 5th place game. Does it really matter? What's the difference between 5th and 6th? Firstly, definitely a big difference between 5th and 6th. You always want to finish your tournament on an odd number. But the other thing to consider is heading into this World Championships next year, the mental toughness that you practice now. The last game of the tournament, you've had so many games behind you. This is such a tough opponent. You're down by so many. You rarely get opportunities to practice continuing to want to win under this much pressure. The French, if they can keep pulling out a few points here, as you said before, 1 by 1, you don't have to count them all in a row. You just have to focus on the next point. But this practice of mental toughness, mental focus for the French will stand them in really good stead next year for the World Championships.
But of course, on the other side of the field, if they have another end to the match that they saw from the quarterfinal that they got knocked out of, if we do see the French with the comeback, it's glorious for the women in blue and red. But that's going to give them some things to think about. The Germans, who, as we said, were so picked to be the favourites, the darlings of this wide open division, where so much excitement has happened here on the fields in Dure. So the German O-line coming out in force. Tisson. Oh, Nanu nearly getting a layout. But the French really want to keep this one going as they battle against Germany. Far side, Libert pops to Gerner. Has Manhertz available for a reset. Eventually finds her as she gets closer. Germany happy to play some nice conservative offense as their players now come into the space around the handlers. Eventually Kappelman realizing she might not be needed and just clustering in the short field.
I think it's a nice move here. The Germans have kept just 2 handlers back. This zone is more of a 3-person wall and then match mark downfield. But if you've only got 2 handlers back behind that wall, that leaves you a wide open player up in front of the disc.
Oh, and a big ripper. That one's going to sit and hang and come right towards us. Great read from the French defense. Another credit to Alice Saint-Marco's reputation. Not really familiar with that name myself, Joe, but I'll remember it long after this tournament's expired.
Absolutely, she's put in so much play here for her team.
Le Bon swings across. You can hear the frantic sideline of both teams. Saint-Marco furious turning and faking. Finds up the sideline, dialed that one in a little bit. Can't connect with Le Villayer. Tisson gets the disc back. Germany with half the field to go. This now regulation size field here on the turf. Manhertz up to Foch. Tisson, nice little jinky movements. but throws it into the floor. And Germany's O-line fails to sink this one in cleanly. And now France, another opportunity to extend the game here. 7 minutes left of regulation time. Going to be a game to 15 regardless. Bruni on the disc. Pick call on the field. Coming back to Gaël Le Villayer. Oh, and above all of the sideline, you can hear the French loud and clear. Putting in loads of effort. Le Borgne under a wee bit of contact from Kappelman. Safe clap catch. Oh, that is a sneaky attempt, but just doesn't manage to keep her balance. Disc goes awry into the hands of the Germans. Tisson, far sideline. A little bit of stumble on the travel. Brings it back. Had Gunner around, and that is it. Game over for the French. The Germans, such a dominant performance. You see them celebrating and hugging. They really needed the win here just to bring themselves up after such a killer quarter-final that will be watched by many, I'm sure. You see the celebration, the delight on the faces. Commiserations to the French. They pulled out such a great performance to get them into 6th place. No disrespect, all the honor in the world. Joe, what are your thoughts about that match?
A great game. I think both teams have plenty to be proud of there. The German offense at times just looked unstoppable. Such beautiful throws into the wind, and then when the wind died down, even more amazing puts. The French were absolutely massive on defense. The French zone in so many instances was unbreakable. Both teams will be very happy to finish out that game very strongly. The French never gave up, even up until the end, 15-8 down. The teams have finished this tournament now. They'll be tired. They'll be ready for the party tonight that you mentioned, but I think both of them will be proud of their performance across this tournament.
Well, definitely a lot of skill on show on this field as we've seen the wind die down as it's gone. I think the Germans just really stretched that lead by handling the conditions a lot better, benefiting from being a little bit taller than the French side in general. But it was a great show for us here on Field 2. We'll be bringing you, stay tuned if you're a fan of Women's Ultimate, because we'll be bringing you the bronze medal matchup. That's going to be a heck of a game between Russia and Italy. I've been Hannah Pendlebury for Joanna Hamer, who's off to the stadium for the mixed bronze medal match. We'll be right back.
Alti.tv